Thank you for listening or watching this episode of the UnderReported podcast. If you would like to get access to bonus episodes or the chance to be a guest on the show, you can do so by joining my Patreon. Just click the link in the show notes. You can also support this podcast by getting your Underrepped but Always Reppin' merch. Just visit underreptmerch.com. That's UnderReppedmerch.com to get yours today. Now let's get to the episode. Hello and welcome to season 2 of the UnderReported podcast. I am Melanie, your report her. And on this podcast, I share stories of crimes committed against Black women and Black girls because they are underreported in the media. The format of the episode is that I share a story with you, the audience, as well as someone in the studio with me. And today's guest is none other than Kev on stage.
Hello, friends.
Hello.
My name is Kevin.
Thank you for, or
Hello.
Kevin, not Kev on stage.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a whole thing online.
Thank you for online. Thank you for joining me. The way it will work is that you are the voice of the people. You are free to react, respond, ask questions, interject as I tell this story in hopes that it will give you and the audience a full picture of what happened with the story and the women I am telling the stories about.
Perfect.
I won't always know the answers, but I will do the best I can based on the research I have been able to do. There's not a ton of cases that like legit leave me baffled, even when the cases are not like officially solved. There's typically someone or something that seems off enough for me to be able to draw my own personal conclusions. Mm-hmm. But today's case has been a mystery to me since I first heard it. It's a story of a woman who, for all intents and purposes, vanished. She was a beautiful and bubbly 23-year-old woman who had recently called her mom to say she was going to be moving back home. But 5 days after that phone call, her mother was the one sitting in an empty apartment. The apartment that her daughter had once resided in, where the door was open, the lights were on, dishes were in the sink, and the daughter's cell phone was on the table, but her daughter was nowhere to be found. So stick around to hear the mysterious details of a woman who disappeared 6 years ago and a mother who has never stopped looking for her. This is the underreported case of Darian Hudson. Darian Hudson was a bright and beautiful 23-year-old from Hutchinson, Kansas. She was one of 3 kids and had a close relationship with her family. And even when she moved to Stillwater, Oklahoma to become a student at Langston University, Darian remained just as close to her younger brother, her younger sister, and her mom, Stephanie. Whether it was through a quick call or text, or even through social media, getting in contact with Darian was never really a hard task. She was always able to be, they could always reach out. She was actually quite active on social media. She posted pictures of her dog, her family, and her softball team. You see, Darian just wasn't a student at Langston University. She was also on the softball team. She was an athlete.
Oh.
She had been playing the sport for years and was very much a dependable, hardworking team player with a bubbly personality that would captivate anyone. I feel like those attributes actually go much with athletes.
Absolutely.
You're like naturally,
especially softball players.
You're going to learn. You got to be dependable.
Yeah.
You got to be prompt.
Yeah.
All the things. So she was able to quickly develop friendships in her new home of Oklahoma and settled well into life there. So she's like young adult, doing her thing, not too far from her parents and her family, but like far enough where she can like kind of get into being a young adult. So things are going well until, as we know, life gets to lifing. Mm-hmm. And then things begin to change for her. According to an article by Jen Baxter for Medium.com, Darian started dating a man that her friends didn't really care for. He reportedly pressured her into quitting the softball team and spending less and less time with her friends. And she obliged. She ended up getting a job as a waitress at a local Chili's restaurant and started replacing some of her old school friends with some of her new coworker friends. Mm-hmm. And then in 2017, Darian had what seems to be like a string of misfortunes. She apparently had gotten pregnant and ended up suffering a miscarriage. And then she breaks up with that boyfriend that they don't like. And then her beloved dog, the one that I said she was posting on social media, passes. He dies. So she's going through it. Things are hard, and it was really, really tough. She's telling her mom, everything is really hard for her. But by October of that year, October of 2017, she starts to like try to pull her life back together and get things back on track. So she's like trying to be on the up and up. She calls her mom on October 21st of 2017, her mom Stephanie, and she says that she's enrolled in nursing classes. So she's like not really at Langston anymore.
Yeah.
She's enrolled in nursing classes and she wants to actually move back home to try and save some money.
Okay.
Her mom is thrilled. Her baby girl's coming back home like, girl, yes, you can come. I got you. They made plans for Stephanie to drive down that weekend to go get her.
Stephanie's the mom name?
Stephanie the mom. And so this call happens on Sunday, October 21st. No, or Saturday. It was Saturday, October 21st. And then the next day, Sunday, which is October 22nd, Darian fails to show up to her morning shift at Chili's. Her manager and her coworkers were immediately suspicious because, as I said, and we just said, as an athlete, Darian is prompt, she's hardworking, she's dependable, she's a team player. Her not showing up to work is odd. Her coworkers began calling and texting, and even though they don't get a response, which is, again, concerning, they remember how hard of a time that Darian's been having with everything she's been going through, so they try to, like, extend some grace. They don't want to overstep, so, like, let's give her a day, maybe she'll show up. And then a day goes by, and another day, and another day. And
She's supposed to work every day of those days?
She never shows up to work, and she doesn't respond or to any calls or texts.
Oh, they did contact her the first day?
No. They've been calling and texting her since the first day.
Try to contact her.
Yeah.
Okay,
but nothing. No answer. By Thursday, when Darian still hasn't shown up for work and her friends and her coworkers haven't been able to contact her, they decide to call her mother to make the tough, earth-shattering call to say, Stephanie, we haven't been able to contact Darian. According to an article written by Andrea Cavalier for NBCnews.com, Stephanie had woken up that morning to a ton of missed calls and texts from Darian's friends. She said, quote, my phone was blowing up with calls and texts from her friends. No one could find her, and she hadn't shown up for work. So you can just imagine a mother who's a couple hours away, and all your daughter's friends are like, we don't know where Darian, like that's gotta be, I can't even imagine, right? The stress. Stephanie herself tries to reach her daughter and again doesn't get an answer. So she is like, something is wrong. And so her and some family members immediately get on the road to make the 3-hour drive to Oklahoma. And when they arrived to Darian's duplexes, where she lived, actually it was a duplex, they were shocked to find the door was slightly open. So they cautiously go inside and discover that a light is on and dishes were in the sink. Things look relatively undisturbed, like not like there was a struggle or like something major happened. It just looks like it's weird that the door's open, but like it looks like she's been here, right?
Right.
And then they look on the counter and make the unnerving discovery that Darian's cell phone is just sitting there. At this point, Stephanie has seen enough, and she makes the heart-wrenching call to Stillwater police to report that her daughter is missing. Stephanie says, according to the NBC
Wait,
News,
how much time is this from
the
first time now?
Sunday. So mom and Darian have the call Saturday.
Okay.
Darian doesn't show up to work on Sunday.
Okay.
By Thursday, Stephanie is in Oklahoma at her daughter's
So
appointment.
it's 5 days from from her mom telling her mom she's coming home.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So nobody basically heard from her the moment she told her mom she's going home.
After that.
Or wants to come home.
After that.
Okay.
Correct. Stephanie has made the call to the police to try to report her daughter missing. And Stephanie says, according to the NBC News article, that Stillwater police tell her she has to wait 48 hours to file a missing persons report.
48 hours more?
Yes, to file a missing persons report.
Wait, I thought it's only 48 hours from the last time somebody saw you. It's 48 hours from the moment you tell them?
So here's the thing. That's actually in general not true.
48 hours?
Correct. I said this on another episode. You do not have to wait. If you haven't spoken to someone and you have reasonable belief that they are in danger.
Like their cell phone's on the counter and they're not home?
Exactly. It's not, you don't have to wait. You can file a missing persons report. So if the police are telling you that, you should ask to speak to someone else because it's just not true. I looked it up. I Googled it. Yeah, because it's like this widely held belief.
In the movies too.
Yeah.
It's like the one phone call thing. people that's not necessarily true all the time.
I've been trying to do research to understand like where exactly it comes from and to verify that what I'm saying is true. Like you really don't have to. So from what I have been able to find, it seems like it stemmed from the idea that, which is true, adults have the right to like go away or like go missing. Like you can, as an adult, you can decide,
I'm going to take a day
kind of out of here. Right.
Yeah.
And so when that was happening more frequently, police, I guess, from what I can find, were finding that adults would eventually show up. And so it seems, again, that they, instead of wasting, quote, resources, give it some time. They'll probably show up.
Yeah.
The other thing is that idea is typically used when it comes to Black women. Because there is this assumption and narrative and belief, right, that they are more promiscuous or more, maybe there's drugs involved.
Really?
And so sometimes there's a bit of a, like, there's some hesitancy to be like, let's go put these resources and efforts into finding these people.
Got it.
Right? And so they typically like will deter you, wait some time. But I just want to make very clear, if you reasonably believe that someone is in danger, adult or child, you do not have to wait to file a missing persons report.
Good to know. I did not know
You don't have to wait 48 hours. And if they are telling you that, speak to someone else. Google it, show them, or ask them to show you the law. It won't be there. And file your missing persons report. Because those are minutes and hours that are so vital to being able to bring someone home.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And they're just gone.
Yeah.
2 days.
Well, now it's 7 days by the time they start looking.
Exactly. So, after Stephanie is told that she can't file this report for her daughter, she does what any mom would do. She starts searching herself. Stephanie and her family spend the next 48 hours reaching out to any and everyone who knew Darian, from her neighbors to her coworkers to even posting about Darian on social media. They were desperate for any tip about where Darian could be. They don't get much luck. And then on Saturday, okay, so now it's a full week again, full 7 days since she's last spoken to her daughter. The police officially launched their investigation into her disappearance. And unfortunately, they also get nowhere. No one knows or has seen anything. It's not until about 6 weeks later, in early December, do police get a break in the case. And the break is like even more baffling. So according to Detective Mary Kellison, who is a detective on the case, on December 2nd, a man attempts to use Darian's debit card at a hotel in Oklahoma.
Oh.
According to him, they pull him in. Obviously, they're going to interview him and ask, where'd you get this missing woman's card? According to him, he says back in October, while working at a construction site in Stillwater, Oklahoma, he found a purse sitting on top of a concrete sewage container. He reportedly took $345 out of the purse and the card from the purse and then just like held on to the card. So police learned the construction site he was working at was St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, just like north of Stillwater. And that the church was still under construction in December at the time that he tries to use the card. So they head over that way to try to speak to some of the other workers, since it's still some workers there.
Right.
Through interviews with multiple construction workers, they are told a number of the workers do actually remember seeing a woman that matched Darian's description on October 26, 2017. So they're like, oh yeah, we remember seeing someone like that. Now remember, Darian first missed her shift on October 22nd. So they are saying 4 days after that, they see her near this construction site. So this reported sighting is from, again, 4 days after, right? She didn't go to work. The workers tell police the woman, who is presumably Darian, was in a wooded area near the site, and one worker specifically says, according to the NBC News article, that the woman had a, quote, blank stare and did not engage with anyone.
What?
The Medium.com article reports that the workers were so concerned about her because she just seemed kind of off that they felt like she seemed like she was having some sort of mental health crisis. And so they alerted their supervisor like, yo, she might need to be checked on. The supervisor comes out and attempts to engage with her, but she refuses to speak. She just like stares at
There's no history of her having any mental health issues?
No.
Oh my God.
The other thing police learned while speaking with people at the construction site is that there was a neighbor to the site who also said he saw the woman that day. So they go and talk to this neighbor. The neighbor says after his grandson had gotten off the school bus that day, he saw a woman walk up to his grandson and some of the other kids who had gotten off the school bus. And he sees this, and so he starts heading that way. But by the time he makes it to his grandson, the woman has walked off already.
Yeah.
And she's walking what they eventually learn is like back towards the construction site. But the grandfather never made contact, so
Because she's gone.
Because she's gone.
Threats neutralized.
So that is basically the last known sighting of Darian Hudson. Police end up doing a full dog search of the area, and they find Darian's sweatshirt and her wallet, but they never find Darian. So that she was obviously here, but we don't know where she went.
Why there? There's no reason.
And why there?
And she drove over there? Was her car over there?
So she doesn't have a car.
And there's no lift or nothing. There's just
nothing. Well, remember her phone is at her house. So she doesn't have a car.
And the boyfriend. Where's the boyfriend?
Nothing that I've been able to find names him or talks about him outside of the friends saying no one liked him and that they had broken up.
How long did they break up before the...
And I have yet to find at what point did they break up.
Oh.
All I've been... And this is the other thing about cases and crimes against Black women, and one of the problems when the cases don't get attention is that there's such limited verifiable facts.
Yeah, it's like,
right?
man.
You're just left with these bits and these pieces, and you're like, what actually, who, how, where?
It doesn't make sense. If she never had a history of drug use, it doesn't seem like.
No.
Bubbly.
Yes.
No mental health issues ever.
No.
The boyfriend it doesn't seem like they were in contact at all.
Anymore, right?
And then she disappears, and then her stuff is randomly at a construction site. And what happened if that guy didn't go in her purse? We might not even have this information.
Exactly.
They might not know anything about that at all.
Yeah. So it's been almost 6 years now, and there has been no further activity on any of her bank accounts, any of her social media, and no one else has ever reported a sighting of this woman. Jeff Watts, who is a lieutenant with Stillwater Police Department, acknowledged how out of the ordinary this case is, how she seems to have truly just vanished.
Also, finding her purse and her clothes and nothing else of her. If you see a shirtless woman, you are calling somebody. You know, if they saw her looking, I guess, clothed and with a blank stare, and they're like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" Yeah. If you see her shirtless, or anyone's shirtless, a woman, I would imagine, you are like, "Hey, man, there's."
The thing is, they said they found her sweatshirt. So the other, I don't know if she had what she had
I'm thinking it's a shirt
there.
Like you and I have on.
I don't know if she had anything underneath there, but I to your point though, she obviously made that interaction and seeing her made such an impact on those workers that here we are 6 weeks later.
That's what I'm saying.
And they're like, yes, that woman
absolutely
was here.
Remember that girl, and this happened in her face, and we talked to that's a huge.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, I don't know what you would do, because it's like, you can't detain her. Right. If she's not interacting, you just like, hey, are you good? Right. And if she just walked into the woods, you like, that was weird. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I can't imagine somebody at the construction site doing anything more if she didn't look like she was in danger or about to hurt somebody else.
The other thing that you can't help but wonder is if 4 days after, she is at this construction site, obviously still alive, regardless of whatever situation she was in. The police saying we need 48 more hours. If they would have started their search sooner, you can only imagine.
I didn't think about that.
That she may have been found alive already.
Because that's closer to the time that's around the time that they have just seen her. Yes. And they have a place from where to look.
Absolutely. Had they started. So after not getting much leads on this case, Detective Kellison was able to get Darian's case on a cold case playing card deck. So this was new information for me. I didn't know that this was a thing that
What is
exists.
that? What is a cold case
But
playing card?
the cards in these decks feature faces and facts about cold cases, and they're distributed across jails and prisons with the hope that an inmate will come forward with the information. So they're legit like a playing card deck that inmates are able to get, and they feature the cold cases, with the hope that an inmate sees it.
And they play cards with these people's faces on them?
Yes.
Is this for real?
Seriously.
That is...
You're hoping that an inmate knows something, sees something, did something.
Oh my God, that is crazy.
And go to the police? I don't really know. This was the first time I had heard of this, but they did it. And even with that, they get nothing. So friends and family of Darian Hudson have spent the last 6 years remembering the laughs, the smiles, the good times, while also agonizing over what could have possibly happened to her, where she is, and how they can get her home. Anyone who knows her doesn't believe she went missing voluntarily. They believe she was met with some kind of foul play, and they believe someone knows something that can give them answers. Stephanie, Darian's mom, has used her Facebook page to post almost daily for the last 6 years. Articles and pictures of her daughter. She is determined to not let her daughter be forgotten. I went to her page and she posts regularly.
Man.
Darian would have been 29 today. She is described as being 5 foot 3 inches tall, 120 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Her ears and her nose are pierced, and she has a tattoo of a feather and 5 birds with the words "birds of a feather flock together" on her back right shoulder. At the time of her disappearance, she was wearing a white t-shirt and jeans. Anyone with information on Darian's whereabouts or who saw something around the time she disappeared is asked to contact Detective Mary Kellison at 405-742-8357 or the OSBI at 800-522-8017. We send our love and prayers to the family of Darian Hudson and anyone who loved her. I hope that this episode only continues to bring awareness to her case and can ultimately aid in bringing her home to her family. Thank you so much for listening. Until the next episode.